So ladies and gentlemen, we have our special session with none other than Mr. Sascha Schmel, Managing Director, VDMA Materials Handling and Intralogistics. Please give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for him. He is Managing Director of the German Association for Materials Handling and Intralogistics. Please give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, sir.
The reason why I'm standing here is to give a little bit of a deep dive on what I hope you will consider to be a good example or maybe even a success story for interoperability in intralogistics. And as we are experiencing it in our market and the German market and some of the European markets already, it should be lawfully called as a game changer. So, just to give you an idea of who am I and what I am standing for, it's our VDMA Materials Handling and Intralogistics Department. We are consisting of 5 specialized departments with a product-specific focus, such as automated guided vehicles, industrial trucks, cranes and hoists, the intralogistics systems as such as shuttle system, racking systems, etc., as well as the continuous conveyors. The association here serves as an interface, of course, within VDMA to the other trade associations, to the research landscape, such as universities, and to, last but not least, intralogistics trade fairs and markets worldwide, such as LogiMAT, of course. In the end of my speech, I will introduce you also to the Intralogistics 2X working group, which can, if you help a little bit, become a worldwide activity. So, interoperability in intralogistics. One can, of course, ask the question why automation is no longer an option. It's mandatory. So Mr. Hansda, being on the stage just a few seconds ago, was asked in the rapid fire round, is it necessary? And he had to agree that it's necessary because the other option was not more correct, I guess, but I'm pretty sure he would join me when I say it's mandatory meanwhile. So there is not really another way to do that. We have a growing demand for systems to be networked with each other. So automation and a higher degree of autonomous controls require that someone has the overall control. And that needs to be done, that you make or that you design a network of all the subsystems. And that will lead us very quickly to software and IT stuff. Why is that? Because the user require more flexibility, more future security, standardized data exchange, and of course, compatibility. If you start or if you want to design interoperability like a piece by piece in a project way, then it will be not efficient. We've seen that for a couple of years. Of course, you can have interoperability between the vehicles of 2 or 3 manufacturers, but you will start from scratch in each and every product, and that will cause a lot of development work on site. And what customers want is quick project implementations. And that's probably one of the key motivation factors for the project I'm telling you about. So the question was, we know why, but the big thing always is how. So as we have a very long history in our association, of course, with standardization, mainly in the mechanical safety field, our answer and the answer of the members quickly was, okay, we need to go a standardized way. So what we need to do is to harmonize the interfaces. And then another will it be kind of a closed shop or will it be open? And I'm really glad standing here telling you what came out, what was the result of our efforts is open source. And I found an example on this beautiful trade show already, which proved that it's findable. So I was told there was a customer demand on a thing called VDA 5050. You will understand in a second. And what the development guys did was dig into the internet. They found it on the VDMA GitHub and they used it. And that makes me very happy and makes me very proud. So how shall it be done? Of course, cross-manufacturer and interdisciplinary collaboration was necessary here, and we found that. I will give you the full details exactly how this was done. And last but not least, of course, the user, the one who's demanding all that features, he shall be around the table because he has to agree on what finally is developed. So it was the idea to have him on board as early as possible, from day one, so to speak. You can also say what was developed here was an invention hands-on. So it was not a top-down thing like you might have experienced Industry 4.0 in the first years. There was a big idea and there were guys having a deeper understanding how it should look like in future. And then it was kind of poured in the industry, and that was necessary. That was good because that made us thinking. But this one in front of that big picture of Industry 4.0 was really a bottom-up movement or grassroots project, so to speak. So that slide obviously speaks for itself. I will give you just a second to let it sink in. No, it doesn't speak for itself, not even to me, who was around the table when it was invented. So that's just to make sure that we are all on the same page regarding it's there. It's not an idea. What will be shown here, it is already existing, as I said before, open source code on a GitHub. So a worldwide accessible software code platform. What's the beauty of it, or what is the VDA 5050 and why is it called VDA and not VDMA? You might already wonder. It'll be old. It will be old told to you. So the VDA 5050 is a joint interface project of intralogistics manufacturers and users of AGVs and AMRs. Mainly it was the German automotive industry that was implementing a lot of AGV and AMR projects and stumbled upon the fact that they had several servers, several maps, several navigation sources for the vehicles. The vehicles needed several lanes to work their way through the facilities. And there was that big starting momentum to say, okay, we have to standardize, we have to make it more efficient. And that's exactly what happens. VDA 5050 as a cross-manufacturer communication standard leaves you with one fleet manager and XYZ number of vehicles from different manufacturers working all under the same system, collaborating together, using one driving lane, using one navigation map, using one job broker, sharing infrastructure, sharing maintenance interfaces, etc., etc. It was launched from our side and of course from the Association of the Automotive Industry called VDA, and that's unveiling the secret why it's VDA 5050. They were the first to implement it worldwide in their car manufacturing plants, and we thought, well, the car industry always is good in marketing, so we let it to them to give the baby a name. but you can think the M between the D and the A, of course, so it could as well read VDMA 5050. And yeah, that's basically the interoperability and intralogistics in a nutshell so far. What has been the development path? So let's do a little bit history here. So it all started in 2017 already with a kickoff discussion and the initiation of the joint project groups of VDA and VDMA. It took a while, but in 2018, the technical support awarded to the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So we had a third party that was gathering the requirements, that was gathering the input, and that was helping us to come up with a framework in JSON and using MQTT for data transmission. In 2019, then, we were ready to publicate the first version of the standard 1.0. That was, of course, a big milestone. 2020 already, we had 1.1, which adds navigation within a common coordinate system. And the project, or let's say the development of the code and the details, was moved to the GitHub for further processing. Latest by then, we can call it an open source project. The world is invited to read and give comments on that GitHub platform. So further down the road, 2021, we had the first AGV mashup, and I will give you now a little bit more details about the AGV mashup because it is the sandbox or the plug fest or whatever you want to call it. It is the proof of concept over the years and over the development of the standard. So as you can imagine from the pictures here, it's a live test event. So it was scheduled at a certain time. Manufacturers were coming in, bringing their vehicles, and they had less than 2 days for implementation. Okay, I have to agree. There was a little bit of cheating going on because they could test their implementation via the cloud against the test system in beforehand. But that's not a bad thing. If you imagine that you come with your equipment to a project site and you have 48 hours of implementation, and of course it helped that you had a test system up and running with a vehicle at your premises and the fleet manager in the cloud, and you just checked if the communication, if the data flow was all right. So it's 48 hours, and the picture above, so the first picture from above is from the first event, and you can see happy faces. And they're not masked because they don't want to be recognized on the photo. They are masked because it happened during the 2020 pandemic. So we did it under really crazy circumstances. Thank God the event where it was attached to was not a trade show, because trade shows were forbidden at that time, but testing events were free to happen. So what we proved is that you can implement that stuff within 48 hours, having a minimum distance of 1 meter or 1.5 meters to anybody else in the room. So 2 big successes at once. It was 6 participants in the first round, and well, it happened in Dortmund, alongside the IFO test days, but that is a different story. You can probably find some videos online if you Google the right words. In 2020, we implemented AMR machines for the first time, so autonomous mobile robots with separate tasks to manage. And in 2023, the largest and most elaborate test scenario up to date with a total of 11 participants happened. That is the third picture. Let's go it a little bit piece by piece here. And I'm always proud looking back on what happened, and I want to share that with you. That's a little bit more detail of the first session. It was, again, 6 vehicles from different manufacturers sharing the floor without colliding. So basically, this was the first test where they were able to share the shop floor, to share the driving lanes. They were not really interacting with each other. But that was already a big success to whatever was there before. And it's a little bit awkward because if a people from the street comes in and you tell him, yeah, after some years of work, we managed to have the vehicles working on the same shop floor without colliding. He will be like, so what? I mean, all the cars of different manufacturers on the street, especially here in Neu-Delhi, share the same lanes or whatever they call lane without colliding. So where is the big thing here? But you, as an expert, you maybe already got the point here. A few years back, you would have needed maybe 6 driving lanes. If you were good in implementation, you could have done it with 3 driving lanes for the same way if you have 6 different manufacturers. And now they are all sharing the same routes under one fleet manager. If you change your setup in the factory, if you change your driveways, you had to change it in 6 fleet managers. Now it's enough to change it in the one fleet manager. So you will get an idea of the efficiency that was, of course, the driver behind the project and which is the success of that project. 1 year later, you can see the people without masks mainly. We were free of corona and we freed ourselves a little bit from the surrounding barriers. So we had also the confidence in the safety of the overall setup, and people were, for maintenance purpose of course, only walking through that area. No vehicles got hit and no people got hit. We had 7 vehicles and we had a driving range for the freely navigation of autonomous mobile robots. First time implemented. Unfortunately, it's in the back of the picture, so if I remember correctly, it was here. And since it worked rather well, people started making the obstacles that were surrounded moving. So to avoid the impression that there again was a dedicated course programmed around the obstacles, whenever there was no AMR around, somebody went there and moved the obstacle to make sure when the AMRs passed by the next time, it was a new task. So again, a very little detail, and obviously anybody you pick from the street would say, yeah, that's what we expect in 2022, but since you're from the industry, without a lot of implementation, it sometimes is not so easy. Again, we were happy to continue that journey in 2023. It was the largest test to date so far. Okay, 2024 is a rather young year for now. And we had different kind of products incorporated. So far, it were more the small AGVs and AMRs, but now we also had the automated forklift vehicles, and they were loading pallets into racks and unloading pallets into racks. And again, we had probably less than the 48 hours of implementation time by that event. We had no Wi-Fi anymore. I forgot to mention that. We were running this on Wi-Fi in 2021 and 2022. In 2023, we run it on 5G, a campus network that was kindly provided by Nokia. So Nokia came, put up some 5G stations, whatever, They had some trouble, but that was a broken cable. After that was fixed, it ran out of the box. So this showcase even made it clear that you can overcome the Wi-Fi problems that you would have in a warehouse. There's a lot of metal. There is rarely free sight for the signals, and Wi-Fi has its problem in these conditions. 5G turned out to be an out-of-the-box solution. So this was a, let's say, side job to that live test or hackathon or whatever you want to call it. And that proved that this technology of 5G is perfectly fit for the purpose, and a big shout out to Nokia from this position here. That was a really good job the guys were doing. So we then went on in 2023 with a second event of the mashup and had it, maybe some of you spotted it, at the Automatica show in Germany. It was technologically wise a copy and paste maybe from the Dortmund event of that year. We even got back to Wi-Fi because it pretty much worked, and it was mainly to show it to a broader audience, but we also managed to incorporate 2 production cells in the process. So we had an interface between a production cell, the AGV was driving into it, receiving the goods, carry it along all over the place, and brought it into another production cell. Not every vehicle did it. It was 2 vehicles dedicated to that job. The other ones were doing its warehouse business. But the showcase was clear, okay, that standard is fit to connect production logistics with warehouse logistics. Very successful event, and I think by then it started a little bit to, the word started to spread around. If it works, I can give you some moving pictures of the events. I think that wrapped it up quite good. We are about to have our next event, the AGV Mashup 2024 in April. We will be 10 companies so far with 9 vehicles on the floor. We have listed them. Here we will transport identical load carriers using different vehicles. Sounds an easy task. Again, for somebody who's not been trying this in a couple of projects, it can cause a lot of trouble. I see nodding heads in the first row. Thanks for the support, man. And this is, it's been tested in the years before. We knew what the problems were. So we think we can show a working procedure in the next event. Again, only a very limited time to have the implementation on site is scheduled. And again, there will be systems working in the back where every of the also new participants can check its communication against the fleet manager, which will be there during the show. If you're interested, don't miss to click on that link or to go to that to our website and to get more detailed information if you wish to. So I am always thankful that we had so much support and so much participants so far, and this is kind of the Hall of Fame. We call it the AGV Mashup Finisher. We are so sure that also the guys being with us in 2024 for the first time will manage to successfully participate. So we took the liberty and put them on this slide as well. So these are the first or the supporters from day one up to now, and they have fun. Just to mention that, by the way, they have fun during the events. And one guy said, yeah, it took us like 3 weeks of hard work, but it saved us probably 3 months of hard work in several projects, because once you implemented it, you know where your obstacles are. And this is really like a hackathon. If your vehicle doesn't work, all the others are afraid that the show will not be good. So they jump on it. So you see a bunch of engineers of different manufacturers figuring it out. And in the end, everyone's happy, bright faces. Things are in motion. Okay, that is the event. Now, what will be further down the road regarding content? We call it the Working Group Intralogistics 2X. We have a general exchange and discussion on interface topics in intralogistics for providers and customers there. So as you know, VDMA is a manufacturing association, but I said it's very important to take the users on board here, and Intralogistics 2X working group is exactly made for that purpose. So we invite all the users to share their experience, to share their demands, and to give input in that particular working group attached to VDMA. Of course, there will be a detailed exchange on the VDA 50/50, but not only to it, also questions like safety in terms of CE marking, which is the European safety, let's say standard or a regulation in this case. And more detailed pieces of information that are transported alongside this standard, which I will go into detail in the next slide. Creation of sequence diagrams. So give additional information how you can work on such projects with less stress and with a bigger efficiency. What is becoming more and more necessary, since the word is spread and you see VDA 50/50 ready products all along the way, is that we kind of make sure everyone can check if its product is really VDA 50/50 ready. So the plan is to have an always online fleet manager where you can link your vehicle to and see whether or not it performs all the details that are needed, and the other way around. If you are a fleet control manufacturer or fleet control software designer. There is a virtual AGV in the cloud which you can connect to, which tries to talk with you in VDA 50/50, and you can make sure that your fleet control is able to connect to a full-fledged VDA 50/50 vehicle. So I forgot to mention what 2X stands for. So 2X stands for the interoperability of automated guided vehicles, mobile robots and other intralogistic systems with each other and with the application environment. So in a shop floor we have different obstacles or different doors that need to be open, elevators, whatsoever, and communication from the vehicle to that facilities is also foreseen to be incorporated here. And that Intralogistics 2X working group is probably open for participants worldwide. So, I mean, we're doing all our meetings online these days. There is a strong history in getting people together at one place for working groups like that. But nevertheless, the internet makes it possible, so invite every interested party to at least check with me if it's possible to participate if you are in the, let's say, AMR or AGV business and you're interested in that standard. So, as it was on the screen before, LIF is about to be born. LIF stands for Layout Interchange Format, and it describes the possible responsibilities and data formats of the individual project partners when implementing a project with VDA 50/50. So it is a standard, but the standard can be interpreted, and that can cause some additional tasks. And to somewhat standardize the interpretation of the standard, if you want to name it like this, LIF is about to come and will hopefully make the life of people being concerned with implementation even less stressful and save time in the projects. Another experience, I wouldn't call it a problem for now, but as we experience that if we have a mixed fleet from different manufacturers on a shop floor, and there's not yet a standardization of warning signs and warning signals, you will have, as a user, as a worker in these warehouses, you will have to interpret each and every warning signal of the different vehicles in the right way. And that can be a little bit dangerous. Don't get me wrong. Any kind of warning for the sole vehicle is correct. It's fulfilling all obligation. It's thoroughly done. It's according to safety standards. It's according to the regulation. But it's a little bit different from the other ones. And in the history, you had a manufacturer of AGVs, and he put his fleet there, and of course, there the warning signals were all kind of the same. And it was easy to understand. Now you have a mixed fleet, and they might differ a little bit in their expression of warnings. And to make sure that this will never become a problem, we started early with a brochure, and there is a barcode that should work once you photograph it, and that gives you the brochure on the design of visible and audible signals of driverless industrial trucks. And it's also, open source here, so you're invited to download and consider. So that was it for the topic of VDA 50/50, and before I go into answering some questions that might occur, I would have a rather small advertisement here, because we were driven here, or we were partnering with the automotive industry, and VDMA also is arranging a symposium for electric mobility in Bangalore and in Pune this year. So I took the liberty to incorporate that slide and to invite you to that if you are from or looking into that industry. Just to let you know again who I am, that's the above contact information, and my dear colleague Andreas Scherb is the guy really running the AGV business in our department, so he's also available for questions, and he will run the Intralogistics 2X working group. So whenever it becomes operational, and he's the guy that is sweating until we have the starting procedure for the mesh-ups, so he's really deep down in the technologies of that standard. So I hope that was kind of new information for you, and it was hopefully interesting. I say thank you very much for your patience and for your interest. And bon chance in the AGV business. And remember, it's an open source standard, so at least check it out. Maybe you don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself. Thank you very much.